shoot. Okay, have you started the timer?
I have not. Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to start a timer. Leave. Is this gonna kick me off? This is high content. This is what people want. They want to hear a commercial in the background.
Yeah.
They want to see. I'll state it. I am a little bit down and out. I got COVID in between stuff, and let me tell you, it is.
Did you already start?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Let's start it.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. So you're a little ahead of me then. Okay.
No, no, no. No. You started. Okay. Now I've started.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because for some reason you can't just pull up timer easy anymore. Now you have to like watch a commercial before the timer shows up. So I've hit a level of exhausted where I think I've got like two pieces done in this week, maybe three. Uh
I mean, for you, that's basically like being dead. I
yeah,
mean,
no, that's basically I'm dead to the ground. I got two pieces done. But I still got stuff done for Yonko. It took me longer than I
yeah,
wanted to, but we got it in.
yeah.
And you have stuff, and the podcast goes on even when
It
we're tired. So what do you?
exactly.
So
Well, yeah. Well, but first of all, I mean, like, it's just the reason I said it's like you're dead because if people don't know you, I mean, then I mean, you're basically posting like 10 times a day or something like with new artwork that you make. So you're a super fast. You're one of the fastest like artists that I've ever known. And so the fact that you've like slowed it down to like 2 or 3 week, I mean, it's like you're I mean, you're just lying in the ground right now.
just lied.
So,
When Stephen King retired, the joke was he's only going to put out 3 books a year, and that's what I feel like right now. Like I'm
right.
like, I'm just gonna do three, and then I'm gonna be done. But I
Exactly.
also feel like if I'm not making stuff, I'm like I make stuff because like if I'm not making stuff, I'm actively unhappy, and
Yeah.
like I have to keep going, or like I'm not having a good time. So it's just like
Yeah.
a self survival thing. It's not
Right.
it. I wish I was making, and like I'll make stuff for literally no one. I think
Yeah.
all the Garfield stuff and the Lasagna Club stuff. I think it might be for no one. I think that
Right.
is sometimes I make art for no one but me.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I really admire about the way you work is that you're really doing it like for the process. Because I'm not necessarily I don't want to say that pure, but I don't think that I think I have to have a deadline. Like it's good for like and sometimes they're very self-imposed deadlines. I can have that deadline that is just for me, but it's I think it's easier for me like to have that deadline, especially like, with a partnership like this where it's like, we're kind of counting on each other, for it.
That's
So
that's something that I think we've talked about a lot is how much I
mm,
love deadlines and how
yeah.
much like, I believe in deadlines and
Mm,
how useful they are as tools
yeah.
because it's so easy to like flitter away time when you're not directly staring at a deadline.
Yeah.
And I think that's if you're going to the Yonko work ethic, I think it's go to the studio even when you don't want to
Yeah.
and have a deadline always because it's easier to not if you don't have one, it's easy to just flit away time. But if you do have a project you need to work on, that's a fast way to get inspired,
Yeah.
Like
Exactly. Yeah. And
um
it is like really weird how that works, because I think you and I we both work in theater, and so like what's always kind of amazed me about theater and the music productions that I do is that like basically everything is a shit show until like tech week, and even like sometimes like during most of tech week is a shit show, but inevitably like the show always comes together, when it's the performance date.
Always.
Yeah.
I do think like an audience is such a useful tool to
Yeah.
have as a artist and performer because like it will make it so that everything that is important to you in your
Hmm.
performance will get boiled down and you will find out what is important and what is not important
Hmm.
very quickly
Yeah.
and it's not only like the pressure will make you get stuff done. That's absolutely. But also, you'll find that you let stuff that you were convinced was the most important thing in the world absolutely fall so
Yeah.
that you can let what is true to the piece sing. And I think in visual art, or like painting and stuff, one of the things that can be tough is there's such a space between when the art is done and when it is in front of people. I think
Mm.
immediate reaction is so useful. And like,
Mhm,
one of the things I talk about a lot with people is like crit is hard. Taking critique
mhm.
is hard, but it is also a very fast way to get better. Even
Yeah.
if you are only assuming, like, one of the things you have to do when you go into critique that I'm bad at, and it's hard, but just whenever you like have an opportunity and someone gives you critique, assume there is some truth in it that you can pull out and use later. Even
Mhm,
if it's like a critique that is dismissive and mean, then you can view it as, well, this person is a fool because they just said everything I need to know about this piece. Like
mm,
that can
mm.
be a way to pull out of it. And I think in a collegiate setting, we were talking a little offline about being a teacher. One of the things that I think can be hard as a student is taking that critique.
Mhm,
Especially it's funny because especially if you're not if you are good at something, taking critique can actually be harder than if you're still learning about it
yeah.
because this is something I'm good at. This is how I define myself.
Mhm,
Um, but I think what is helpful in critique is you will not die.
mhm.
You will not die.
Yeah,
It may hurt, it may not be pleasant, but you can survive. And even if someone says quit, you should never have made this, go back to your hole, you can go, well, no, I will continue. Like that's easy as that, you know?
yeah.
Um and I
Well,
always oh, you go.
and I think one thing that I've been really guilty of, I think, along those lines is sort of being selective about who I am open to taking criticism from.
Hmm.
Because I think that, and especially, definitely when I was in college, when I was younger, and stuff like that. But to a certain degree, even now. But I think that if I respect the person, I'm a lot more open to criticism. But what I've really tried to do in recent years is really try to say, okay, even if what I've tried to do is say, okay, wait, why don't I respect this person? Like, I do need to respect this person. I need to respect what they have to say. And it's like who knows what it is? Maybe it's a little bit of snobbery or something like that, or you know, but I've really tried to like say, okay, there's something I can and I should respect about this person, even though like I'm being defensive, about it right now.
And like
So
I guess you can ask yourself like what about them do I not respect and how does that reflect on me?
yeah.
That becomes a really big question. Um and then also you like it is one of those things where you have to take the critique, you have to treat it seriously, and then you have to decide if you care or not.
Mhm.
Because you can go, well, I don't. This is what I want to do. I don't care, and
Yeah.
that's totally valid. But you at least have to hear it for a second.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I
Well,
think
and it's also like along those lines with like the sort of selective, because if I'm being what happens is like if I'm accepting criticism from the people that I respect,
mhm,
but then I'm not accepting criticism from people that I don't respect, it's not only unbalanced with like, okay, this other person, they probably have something good to say, that I can at least learn from, even if I don't agree from it. But it also means that it's kind of the scale is skewed. Sorry, the
sure.
scale is skewed because because uh I'm willing to change more for this other person. And
Hmm.
that's not necessarily good as well,
Well,
because there needs to be some sort of like balance there, I think.
and it's also how you create like an insular sort of hermetic seal around
Yeah,
your art and make it really unaccessible is that you only are making art for these people instead of pushing it in new and interesting directions.
right. Mhm.
I think that is one of the things you can really fall into, and you see a lot in higher education is it becomes only for the elite air and only a
Yeah.
very small and it becomes like academic in the
Mhm.
worst sense of the word in the fact
Yeah.
that like no one can understand what the hell is going on here except for 17 people laughing at what is equivalent to inside jokes.
Yeah.
And I think there's some space for that, absolutely. But you also have to open up that like if you're making art, you're trying to make art for more than a handful of people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I've got this quote that I first heard it several years ago, and I've kept it in my mind just because I feel like it's so helpful in keeping myself grounded in an
Oh,
academic world.
mhm.
And the quote is, "Academic politics are so bitter because so little is at stake." And I think that just when you're in an institution, um, it's not like a lot of important work is done in the academic setting,
Mhm.
but we're not talking about like, starting wars. We're not talking about
Yeah.
like,
Crushing
there's and yeah,
it.
and so like, people's tensions get really high for stuff that is really pretty much insignificant, you
Mhm.
know. So
I mean, and it's interesting, especially with what we do and what you do
mm,
specifically, is like the academic stuff is great. Don't get me wrong, but you
mm,
also have to be like, then in the end, you still are boss. You have to like be wallpaper for pretty events, like
right.
all this. And I'm not talking down to it, but it is a
Yeah.
fact that you do all this theory and work, and at the height, sometimes you get to work the wine gala, like.
Right.
And like, and you say thank you to working the wine gala, you know?
Right, exactly.
And like, why is working the wine gala that much better than working the coffee shop? And I'm not
Right.
saying it's not,
Yeah.
but there you do have to sort of start asking yourself these questions.
Mm,
And I think it's important to balance academic knowledge and academic theory with we are in the business of we are we're jugglers, in the
yeah.
end we're all jugglers a little bit. That
Yeah.
all this theory is great, but those three balls better be going left, right, left, right, left, right. Or, you can have whatever theory you want, but you got to put it, what's the one I like a lot? Have whatever theory you want, but make sure you say the drink specials at the end. Like,
Right.
yeah, you can do it, but at the end you have to be like, yeah, and the pork is 50% off, everybody.
Right.
Um,
Well, and also I think you hear some of the I listen to a lot of economic podcasts, and one of the things that they're really talking about now is like the service industry. And usually, like I think what they're mostly referring to in the service industry is like restaurants, and hotels and stuff like that. But it's also I feel like a lot of kind of what we do, with music and art. I mean, we're creating stuff in service, for other
yeah,
people to enjoy,
absolutely. I think that's one of the weirdest things about live theater and live performance that people don't see it as, especially when you're working at our level, because you're technically also serving the actors and a
Right.
lot of performers, and you're trying to create a positive experience for a lot of people
Hmm.
simultaneously, and trying to stay afloat and trying to create a community and trying to
Hmm.
have people push their boundaries and have people be able to move up, and have people who would never have an opportunity to perform have an opportunity to perform and feel good about themselves and have the one
Yeah.
Polaroid from the performance they once had. And like, I think it is it's a weird job. It's a weird position that we don't talk about because, from my point of view, you have a lot of acquaintances, not a lot of friends. You have a
Hmm.
lot of people who will hug you and say hello, but in the end, you don't know where they live, they don't know where you live, and you're fine with it.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
and that's both physically and emotionally. And I think it's a weird place to be that I think not a lot of people see. I know I get into some trouble sometimes because I have a lot of trouble with names. But one of the things I wish I could explain to people is like, you see me every time you see me. I've seen about 100 or 200 people between you,
Mhm.
between seeing you, unless you're one of the people who work here or are a contractor who contracts with us really regular. I see 100 people every time I see you, and every time I see you, that's a great moment for us, and I love it. And I try to remember the stuff that we talked about, but there are a lot of people between you, and I think, and like in working in art is that happens a lot.
Mhm.
I think that probably happens a lot for you when you perform with it. Oh, I saw you here, here, and here, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's dope. But like, there was like 5 performances between those,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
uh,
And even like and I sort of get embarrassed because like there are people that, they come to a show and then like 10 shows later or 15 shows later, they'll come back, but there's also people who come to like maybe every show or every 2 or 3 shows, and so I personally get embarrassed because like I recognize their face finally, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but I get stuck in this loop where I don't know their name and then like I can't ask their name because
Yep.
it's just assumed that I know it.
There's people I have whole relationships with in
Yeah.
like friendships, and we've gone out to eat, and like no idea what their name is.
There's
No,
this one there's this one oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
oh no, oh no, oh, we gotta do it again. That's gonna be a good discussion though. That's what I want to talk about. We should bring that
Yeah.
up. That is like I've seen a million faces and I rocked them all.
Yeah.
You're right, Bon Jovi. Me too. Me too, Bon Jovi.
Well, we never got around to the actual topic that I was going to
That's
start with,
awesome.
but
Dude, we
but
just jump in like,
we just jumped in and didn't stop
man,
talking.
I'm gonna be honest. I've been really off this week because COVID and stuff.
Mhm.
And that record button turns on, and I'm like, here we go. Like,
No, I noticed a visible difference. I really did. It's like you're ready to be on camera, man. You're ready.
dude, I just you turn on that record. It's just you put on the mascot head, and you're like, let's do this thing. You got to take your moment. You're a different person in there.